What if the man who changed the course of history was never who people thought he was? 2,000 years ago, in a small corner of the Roman Empire, a wandering teacher from Nazareth spoke words that would echo through millennia. He owned no land, commanded no army, wrote no book, yet today his name is known in every nation on earth. His followers called him the Son of God. His critics called him a troublemaker. His legacy sparked empires, inspired revolutions, and still stirs hearts and debates today. But who was Jesus of Nazareth? Was he a divine savior, a political rebel, or something far more complex? The real story might surprise you, and it might just change the way you think about faith, power, and the way history is written. To understand Jesus, we first have to leave behind what we think we know. Not the glowing stained glass images, not the Sunday school memories or Hollywood portrayals, but the real man walking dusty roads in Galilee. Historians, theologians, and archaeologists have spent decades trying to strip away centuries of interpretation to find the human beneath the halo. What they've found is both ordinary and extraordinary. Jesus was born into a time of unrest. Roman occupation had turned Judea into a tense and volatile region. Taxes were high. Resistance was brewing. Many Jews believed a Messiah would come to deliver them, not just spiritually but politically. Into this world stepped a carpenter's son, likely poor, probably uneducated by elite standards, yet astonishingly wise. He spoke in parables, turning everyday life into profound metaphors. He challenged the Pharisees, rebuked the corrupt, and uplifted the outcasts. What made Jesus different wasn't just what he said, but how he lived. He healed without charging. He forgave without condition. He broke social rules not to provoke, but to restore dignity. He ate with sinners, touched lepers, and let women speak freely in public. In a world stratified by religion and class, that was revolutionary. But the story takes a dark turn. The more popular he became, the more dangerous he looked to the authorities. Both religious and political leaders began to see him as a threat. A man attracting crowds, talking about a kingdom not of this world, refusing to pledge full allegiance to Rome? That was enough to get anyone crucified. And crucified he was. It was a punishment reserved for rebels and slaves. The cross wasn't just an execution, it was humiliation, a warning to others. His followers scattered. His movement, it seemed, was over. Yet, within a generation, that movement exploded across the Roman Empire. Why? Some say it was because of the resurrection, an event that, for believers, changed everything. Others argue it was the powerful message, the hope offered to the poor and powerless. Still others suggest it was the brilliance of his early followers, like Paul, who spread his teachings far and wide. Whatever the cause, the result was undeniable. Jesus went from condemned criminal to global icon. But here's where the story invites more questions than answers. How much of what we know about Jesus comes from historical fact, and how much from faith? The Gospels, our main sources, were written decades after his death. Each reflects different agendas, communities, and theological beliefs. Scholars debate everything from his birth details to his final words on the cross. Even his famous Sermon on the Mount may be a collection of sayings gathered over time. Does that diminish his impact? Not at all. If anything, it highlights something deeper. How a simple life can spark a global movement, how ideas can outlive even the harshest persecution. There's something deeply human about Jesus. Whether you believe he was divine or not, his story resonates. He was a man of principle, compassion, and radical hope. He stood against injustice without violence. He inspired people to see beyond what was toward what could be. That message still matters. And perhaps that's why his story endures. Not because we all agree on who he was, but because we can't stop asking. So what do you think? Was Jesus a prophet, a political dissident, a divine savior, or simply a mirror for our deepest hopes and fears? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There are countless more stories waiting to be told, and we're just getting started.